So I guess we'll just start with, "Hi, I'm Gamb. This is Dear, and I'm forcing her to watch Doctor Who." That's
Uh,
that's all you get. I'm not gonna make
uh,
this professional. So okay, so uh, November 23rd, 1963, an unearthly child. Uh, give us a what happens, dear?
okay, so you cut in basically on some teachers instantly, like, school's out, and like this one lady teacher goes up to this one male teacher and she's like, this one student has just been like both really smart and really stupid, and I don't know what's wrong with her, right?
As you do.
And as you do, because all teachers are like that, like they just talk about how stupid their children are.
I mean,
Um,
honestly, yes.
mhm. So for the most part, they just like go back and forth, and it's very like 60s mullets, pencil skirts. Literally the first thing that they walk in on is the lady teacher comes in and he's like, "Hey, you haven't left yet?" And she's like, "No, of course not. Well, I'm still here." He's like, "Ask a silly question," and he's like, "I'll forgive you for that." And I'm like, "Why?" that's that's not. Anyway, sorry. Um, the lady teacher has amazing eyebrows. Can I just mention,
She
like, they're penciled
does.
in
She really
to
does. Do you
like
do you
the
remember
extreme.
do you remember their names?
I remember Ian.
Okay. Do you remember his last
Okay,
name?
so nope.
Okay, okay.
All I know is Ian, and it's fine. And
Yeah.
and I think actually I think the lady was Mrs. Wright. I want to say.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, but I when I was taking notes on this, I didn't remember her name, so it's a lot of it is like lady does this.
Lady does
So
this. Anyway, keep going, yes.
so her teachers decide that they're going to stalk her, this
hmm
15-year-old girl, okay, for some reason. Because they talk about how for whatever reason her teacher wanted to go talk to her grandfather who takes care of her, and so she followed her home, or she like went to the address that they have on file and there's like nothing there. So they're like, I don't understand, like what the fuck? So let's go stalk this 15-year-old child. Spoilers, she's not 15.
I mean,
This
she's
15-year-old
totally
child.
15.
Okay, listen, in the 1960s, she was 15. Maybe. In current day and age, no.
Okay, okay.
So there's there's just all these things that they're talking about. They're like, why didn't you do this on the litmus test? Blah blah blah. So they start stalking her because of her grades, but the main reason is because they're curious. Because she even made this comment about how the decimal system hasn't started yet, and they don't understand. And like every single time that they have these flashbacks while talking in the car, like the camera is like from the teacher's point of view, and it's the weirdest decision
hmm
because the camera is like in their chest and not where their face is, so she's staring up above the camera. So
It is
it's
a
a
bit.
lot.
It is a bit weird.
Yeah. And they talk about like how they deliberately wanted to like mess her up and
hmm
just like try to see like what's up with her. So they go to this junkyard and they literally see her walk in because they're 5 feet away from the door. And she doesn't see them somehow.
It's
Because
nighttime.
tint and nighttime are totally a thing in 1960. Um,
Yes, the night didn't exist in 1960.
and so they keep talking to each other for a second, and then they cut to her, and then like she leaves, and there's like this weird cutout face for no fucking reason. It's like a a a mannequin or something, but I don't understand why they did it in the first place. Okay.
Yeah.
And then they're wandering around in the dark, and it's kind of weird. And then they finally like trip on nothing and find a police box, and like that's weird. There's a police box in here. These things are normally on the street, not like they're ever built anywhere or taken out of commission or anything. You know, it's fine.
hmm
And they touch it, and they say, "Oh my god, it's vibrating. It's alive." Because by touching it and feeling it vibrate means it's alive. So when
Yes.
your car vibrates, it's alive.
Yes. It's alive. Yes.
Obviously. hmm Um, they then introduce what I assumed was who was the doctor at that time by making him cough and like come over and like go to open up the door. And then he goes to open up the door slightly, and Susan, Susan, like goes, "Oh my God, Grandpa, where have you been?" And for whatever reason, he like shuts the door because he heard the two teachers heard this, and they're like, "You're keeping Susan in that fucking police box." And they're like, "No, I'm not." "Yes, you are." "No, I'm not." "Why don't you go find the police and find out?" It's like, "Well, you're coming with us." And they're like, "Well, no, I'm not." And then he just kind of walks off a little bit and stares off into the distance for no reason.
Well,
And they're like knocking on the door.
You've got to look off into the camera distance to get a good shot.
Mm-hmm. So they start knocking on the door, like the doctor can't hear them or something, like whispering, like, "Hey, like I think she's actually in here. I think I could hear something. Like she's got to be in here, right?" And they're like, "Why?" And then I believe Susan opens up the door from the inside, and she's like, "What's taking you so long? What are you doing outside?" And they all go inside. Okay. And so we see the inside of the TARDIS, right?
Yes.
And then, like, they just start all arguing with each other. They talk about how they can't let them out of the TARDIS because it's like giving fire to cavemen. You can't do it.
Reincorporation?
Yeah. He talks about keeping them in the TARDIS for like a while, and she's like, "No, just like open the door, like it's fine." And they're like, "No, we're not." And then she calls it the TARDIS to their face.
Do you remember what it stands for?
No, I don't. I just said that she then entirely blows the name instantly for no reason. That it was a time something.
Oh, you almost got it. You got one of the words right.
Yeah.
Time
I don't...
Time and relative dimensions in space.
Okay. It's a time in relative dimensions and spaceship. And she just, like, says this openly to them for no reason. Like, at this point, they were still kind of trying to hide what was going on. And she's just like, "Nah, it's this." For no fucking reason.
Arguing ensues, yes. What happens next?
There were some... So she starts talking about how there's more arguing, and then she's like, "I was born in the 49th century. You don't know what you're talking about." They're like, "You're crazy. Like, you're crazy. Like, we're gonna take you. We're gonna go to the police. Let us out. You are literally..." Like, "We're taking you to child services. Like, this is not okay." And then they lock them in, and, like, they won't let them out. The teachers are, like, pushing buttons and freaking out, and so the doctor electrocutes Ian for no real reason other than he was pushing some buttons.
Oh, he's a bit of a dick.
I mean, yeah. His granddaughter Susan starts screaming, and as you've said, apparently this is going to be a thing, I hate her scream.
Oh, she's not even the best screamer in all of Doctor Who. That title is taken by Mel, and don't worry, she's in the late 80s, so you're not going to get to her for a long time.
Oh, no. Okay. And so so she's screaming at him, and the female teacher is like, "Yeah, sure, why not? Like, this could all be, like, real. Like, we don't know." Like, she's just on board.
Yeah.
For some reason.
By the way, her name is Barbara. Barbara Wright. Ian Chesterton and Barbara Wright.
Okay. Well, like I said, I just keep writing lady
lady.
So we'll get there. It was very influential on me.
Yes, yes, yes.
Mm. So the capybara shows back up, and the capybara is when there's a whole bunch of psychedelic effects. We paused it at one point, and we realized there's a capybara shape, kind of in
Okay.
like the psychedelic effects,
So
where they're time traveling.
fun fact about those effects. So in the title crawl and in that uh, changing effects, because that's in the pilot episode. I don't believe that's in the normal episode. Because again, the pilot episode and the first episode, there's no barely any difference, slight differences. Actors are a little bit better at saying their lines.
Yeah, but
but
we just watched the pilot.
yeah, that effect is actually achieved by plugging one of the cameras into the TV, switching on the feed to a specific frequency, and then pointing the camera at the screen. So really, what you're seeing is actually like feedback. So it's actually a really clever thing they did back in the 60s.
I forget what it's called when you're literally looking at a TV and you can see that line going down when you're on a camera.
Oh, that's the refresh.
Yes, the refresh rate.
That's digital though. This is analog.
Yeah.
Like this is.
Well, I mean, you still get refresh rate like on old CRT TVs, is what I'm saying.
That's yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, it is that sort of thing though. It's that sort of effect. Like they regularly show it whenever they do like behind the scenes stuff. They'll get an old camera, plug it in, like move the camera back and forth, and be like, "Look at this, we can recreate it." And it's like, "Oh wow, nice."
Yeah, I said it was a blender.
Yeah, it does kind of look a little bit like a blender. Those credits stay for quite a long time, but it's yeah, that's what that's all about. Anyway, keep going.
So they're time traveling. We pretty much cut to them landing, and both the doctor and his granddaughter are fine, but we see the two teachers passed out, and for whatever reason, the female teacher passed out in the chair, because of course she did.
Well, of course.
Of course she did. She, like, even, like, had her hand up, like, over her forehead, like, oh my lord! Like, that sort of thing.
Is she a Southern Belle now?
A little bit. But, like, very, like, 1960s, like, oh, I can't handle this! Sort of thing.
I am woman.
I am woman. Please protect me, sort of thing. So we cut to a silhouette coming up over a model of the TARDIS, and then we pretty much cut to the Doctor Who song and credits roll for the first episode. Hooray. Or the first part of this 4-part episode. So
yes.
You got any tidbits for the first fucking part?
So there is actually one incredibly November 23rd, 1963. Anything interesting around that date that you can remember?
No.
You sure?
I don't...
Because when it was the November 23rd, 1963 in the UK, it was like November 22nd in the US. And something very important happened on that day. No idea?
Was it when Kennedy was shot?
It was when Kennedy was shot. Kennedy was shot. Okay. And fun fact, it actually ruined the ratings for the first episode of Doctor Who. Because they were like, okay, we've got this new show, we're gonna show it off, it'll be great, kids will love it. Oh god, our time slot's been taken by the news because the president's been shot. Fuck.
Oh no.
So
fuck.
Oh, for fuck's America. Sake. Fucking America. So, yeah.
God.
It's fun. That's the only way I actually remember the day that Kennedy was shot. So, technically, Doctor Who has been around as long as Kennedy has been dead. So, do with that what you will. They actually have a little callback to this sort of little information in the first episode. Yes.
So what you're saying is that it's been around longer than the Confederacy.
Oh, way longer than the Confederacy.
That's a hell of a way to date this.
That's a hell of a way to date this with that fucking meme. They actually have a little callback to this fact in the first episode of the new season with Christopher Eccleston and Billy Piper. With
I thought you were about to fucking say the like exploded half face was going to be the callback, and I was like, wow.
No, the fact that when Rose is talking to the
Oh,
crazy guy in the shed about the doctor and is learning more about him, he actually says, "Here's a photo of him at Kennedy's assassination," and it's like a little Easter egg of sorts of like, hey, he actually technically was there at Kennedy's assassination because hey, that's when
oh
it all
my
started.
god.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah. Anyway, keep going. So first part
hmm
of it's all done. We cut to a silhouette. Now what?
Okay, so credits roll, and we're on to the next episode.
Hmm.
Um, we then, when we open up this next episode, it's the same shot, but then we cut to the face of what I consider to be Ringo Starr in fur,
Yes.
being very confused.
Well, it is the 60s,
Um,
so he probably was. Oh no, he
yes.
would have been in fur in the 70s.
Well, he like even had like the same nose shape, and it was just like, okay, well,
Hmm.
so it then flashbacks, which I didn't realize was a flashback until it flashed forward.
Hmm.
And he can't make fire. His or no, Za can't make fire, and that's why Cal, Ringo Starr, is out looking for things. And Ka is like, wow, I don't know what to do. I'm rolling this bone in my hands and like nothing is working, and all these cavemen have violently British accents for no reason. Even like screams at the sticks to be like light on fire, and you find out that Cal is apparently going to be leader if Za can't make fire or his wife will also be given away.
Yes, yes.
We then flash forward to I'm trying to not mix these two up because Cal and Za are very hard
They
to
are very
not mix
different.
up. So different. Oh man, let me tell you about how their hair is the same,
Yes, yes.
and one wears spots, kind of, but you can barely see it.
But they have very different ways of thinking how the tribe should be run. And honestly, this is where
Okay,
the political struggle starts to begin.
Okay, yeah, there's a lot of caveman politics. I hate that there's caveman politics. Like, oh my god. So we flash forward again to Cal, and he sees the doctor light a match to, I think, light his pipe or
Yes,
something?
yeah, he was lighting a
Or
pipe.
just to light. Okay, so he lights his pipe, and he's like, oh my god, this man can make fire with his fingertips. So he knocks him the fuck out, and, um, takes him to. Oh, no, no, no. Okay, there's one thing I want to mention before all this.
Uh huh.
They are in the TARDIS, and they're
Yes.
talking about how the planet is okay and everything. And they go to the doors opening to be like, hey, look, we actually traveled in time. You're an asshole, and just broke into my police box, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And the doors open, and the outside that you see coming in
Hmm.
isn't the fucking police box, right?
Hmm.
But when they go out, it's just a sharp cut, and it's just the police box. And I'm just like, oh my god.
Yeah. You got a problem with that?
I do.
Because that never
Um.
goes away.
Oh,
Even
good.
even in like
How?
it's one of my
Okay.
favorite things that they ever do is because the box itself is an actual just a box that they will build on set wherever they need
Uh-huh.
it. This is still in the new series as well. Uh, so one of my favorite things is watching people come out of the box and trying to see how they mask that there's not a TARDIS behind the box. Like, trying to mask that it's not just an empty box. Sometimes they don't even care.
Yeah.
Like, you'll see people walk out and it's very clear there's nothing but empty box behind them, and it's great.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, like I've talked about before, I've watched the ninth, 10th, 11th, and some of the 12th Doctor.
Oh, no one should watch
Um,
the 12th Doctor.
mm. And so for the most part, like, I'm very new series where you've watched all of it. You
Yeah,
own all of it.
well, as much as I can. We are actually going to have to skip a few
Yes.
episodes because they're missing, which I'll get into.
Good.
But yeah, keep going. Czar and Cal,
Um,
politics.
so, no, I was gonna say that my main idea of, like, how they hide it not being the TARDIS is they just kind of barely open the door and peek out, sort of thing. They're like,
Mhm.
"Ooh, what's this?" And then they kind of squeeze out, close the door behind them, and walk off. And, like, that's kind of my entry to this is not a box.
Yes.
So we cut back to Ringo Starr, knocking the hell out of the Doctor and taking him back. And they eventually find his notes, and Susan's like, "Oh my god, he never leaves his notes! They're too important!" And she won't stop screaming. She literally is rolling in the dirt at one point, screaming. Like, it's so much.
Yes.
And then they cut again. This show has so many cuts.
Oh, of
They
course it
cut
does.
again to a bunch of kids playing and pretending to kill a leopard, but in reality, the leopard is just a kid with a leopard skin over him that they're just beating the crap out of.
Well,
Which is my favorite game as a kid.
yeah, it's my favorite game too. I mean, who
Beat the
doesn't love
hell out of the kid that isn't cool enough to not be the leopard.
it? It's 4 a.m., babe. Time to become a leopard.
Mm-hmm. So we find out that apparently Orb comes down and teaches people fire. Just like
Did you-
DDQ, Orb
did
comes down and
Did you ever
teaches
realize
people
what they
fire.
mean by orb, by the way?
Yes, it's the sun.
Okay, I'm glad you realized.
Yes, I realized what it was.
I just had to make sure.
And they put the Doctor down and they're like, "Huh, that's weird. He has shiny shoes and tweed pants, but, like, this is fine." I mentioned that Ringo Starr needed a better haircut, and
Oh, come
there's
on.
more caveman politics at this point, because apparently Cal is very not scared about everything, pretty much. And then they grunt at each other at annoyances and somehow understand English fine, and it's apparently Za versus Cal,
Mm-hmm.
and so on and so forth. And it's this power struggle for who's going to be leader, because whoever makes fire is leader.
As is currently true.
Mm-hmm. Then the Doctor is awake, but, like, isn't saying anything. He's just kind of there. And he literally throws out all his politics to try and survive by giving them some matches. Because he talks originally about how, like, no, we can't give a caveman fire. We can't tamper with these children that don't understand. What if Napoleon Bonaparte had airplanes? Like, that's just not okay. But he was just like, nah, I'll make you fire. Like, just let me go.
Yeah,
And
instantly.
Yeah, like, I don't really get it, but it's fine. But he apparently lost all his matches, so Zaw's like, nah, you lied. Like, you don't make fire from your fingertips. And he's like, fire, no fire, yes fire, no fire. And then Susan comes in, like, screeching and jumps Cal to save her grandfather, because he pretty much pulls a knife, quote unquote, on him. It's a rock. He pulls a knife on him, and he's like, if you don't make fire, I'm gonna, like, stab you. Like, come on.
Stabby.
And then more caveman politics, such power struggle. We keep going. And the female teacher and the daughter are taken into the Cave of Skulls.
Cave of
And
Skulls.
then Cal... Go ahead.
Why is it called the Cave of Skulls?
Why? I wonder.
Oh,
It's
I'm
full
asking
of fucking...
you.
It's full of skulls.
Oh,
It's literally
okay.
their graveyard.
That makes sense. Oh, is it a graveyard? Oh, yeah, I guess it is kind of a graveyard.
It's either a graveyard or where, like, they're like, these people died, we'll just keep them here. whatever.
It's their museum.
Mm-hmm. And then I said that there were a lot of skulls in this cave for no real reason, honestly, and that the female teacher keeps coughing, and she did not stop, like, coughing throughout this entire scene, and it was getting really annoying. They then the doctor then points out, look, there's some skulls over there, and they've been split open, and you hang on the skulls and credits roll again.
Yeah, I mean, split open skulls, that means they're gonna get split open themselves.
Oh. Oh no.
So, our heroes are trapped in the Cave of Skulls. What happens next?
Oh, is there nothing interesting about the Cave of Skulls?
What, do you want me to give you something interesting with every single part? Because there isn't.
Yeah, sure.
This is a very long show. There is not very much interesting to behind the scenes.
Oh,
or
are you
anything
saying Doctor
outside
Who
of
is not interesting?
That is not what I said.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
well, we go ahead.
Oh god, I have something very unpleasant to tell you. The bones in the Cave of Skulls were real bones taken from an abattoir, and apparently smelt very bad under the hot studio lights.
Oh, what? Why?
You know, authenticity.
Why? Okay, so I take back what I say about what's her face coughing so much.
That's probably why she was coughing, to be honest.
That's probably why. Because when you're just thrown into, like, this cave full of actual human skulls, I guess. Yeah. Oh, that means they. Oh. Ooh.
Yes, it does.
The scene. Oh, okay. So. Ooh. All right.
Yes.
So. Yeah. So there's been this old woman that's like, don't make fire. Fire will kill us all. Like, just don't do it. Like, don't. Like, don't. It's not a good idea.
Yeah, fine.
And everyone is sleeping in this big old pile. Like, literally, this is supposedly how cavemen slept. Just, like, one on top of another, leg on top of a leg. You know, like puppies, but also even less situated and comfortable. So, old lady gets up. Her hair is immaculate somehow. And she takes Zaz flint rock, his knife, and then we cut to the doctor and no one can stop coughing again, and they keep trying to find rocks and bones and things to cut the rope, and like they talk about how there's air coming in, it's hitting their faces somehow, and that they need to get out and they need to escape because they just want to leave. Like the entire episode, they just want to leave. That's all that there is.
I mean, if you were stuck in the Cave of Skulls, wouldn't you want to just leave?
I mean, yeah, but like with what I'm used to in most Doctor Who episodes, like there's some big thing that they need to fix, sort of thing. Like there's something that there's like, no, we need to stay and fix this, sort of thing.
Okay, that's one thing you're gonna need to learn about the very, very early episodes of Doctor Who. Sometimes a lot of these episodes are just, we've arrived at this place, let's explore. Oh no, we've been captured, we need to get out of here. Okay. That sort of thing. It's very common.
The doctor talks to the female teacher and is like, just remember how we got here so you calm the hell down. Because she's like, wow, you care about it. It's like, no, like we just need to leave and you need to be calm. Sort of thing. The doctor also tells her to like be hopeful for no real reason. Like, there's a difference, in my opinion, from being hopeful and just being like being aware. I guess in this situation, don't be hopeful.
Yeah.
But I guess it's situational. The Zaz wife, which I found out later. Much later, her name is Her. It like H-E-R, Her.
No, it's actually H-U-R, I believe.
Is it?
Okay, I'll double check for you.
It's still her, and I hate that so much.
Yes, it's
So
Ichiwa.
Za and her wake up and they're like, that old lady's like gonna let them go. Like, you gotta stop them. Because if she lets them go, you're not gonna learn to make fire and then Cal and politics. So Za pushes the old lady to the ground very non-aggressively, and she's just laying there groaning like she just got like her ass like beat. And everyone's like escaped and run off into the woods through a hole in the rock or something. Whatever the escape was. And so they chase after them. They realize that they're being followed by Za and her, so they hide, I believe, and they only find this out because the female teacher tripped for the second time and landed face first in front of a boar that was freshly killed by some animal.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they said, not me. Freshly killed by some animal that was larger than it. And she's just like beside herself, like very 1960s sexism. Like, oh my god. Oh, hey, there's a mouse! Sort of thing.
Yes.
And then they hide from the caveman, and there is danger. And Za gets attacked by said animal, because of course. And both women, Susan and the teacher, go after him, and they're like, we can help you. Like, there's not even, like, gashes in his chest. There's just, like, some paint, but it's fine. Honestly, as a caveman,
he's
bleeding out in any...
hurt.
Okay, as a caveman, to be fair, any injury can kill you. But that's beside the point.
True.
Ian then talks about how they're acting like cats and dogs, and the female teacher is like, they're humans, and you need to treat them like such. And just like, where did that come from? He was making a metaphor, but okay. And then they decide to make a stretcher to save Za because they want to help him. And they start taking him back to the TARDIS because that's the only option they have. And then the female teacher does the talk slower and louder thing for no reason.
She really does.
When she just before was like, they're human beings and you need to treat them like such. Sort of thing. I'm just like, why?
Well, okay, remember, okay, this is where we,
I know,
she calls them, 60s, and she calls them savages.
Yes.
It's like borderline, like, you guys are lucky that this is set in caveman times, because I can tell you right now, if this was not set in caveman times and set in a different time period, you would have had the exact same tone of voice.
Oh, yeah.
And don't worry, there's plenty of 60s racism coming up.
Oh, good. I cannot wait.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, keep going.
And then Ian and the doctor get into a fight because the doctor, like, picks up a rocket and Ian was like, you're trying to kill him! And he's like, no! Like, I was trying to get him to draw a map to the TARDIS! Like, what do you want from me?
I will say, when he does that, he looks very suspicious.
Oh yeah, no, he does. But it's just like a fight for no... It's trying to be an allusion to Cal and Za throughout this entire thing, that they start fighting and bickering just like Cal and Za do, and it's just like, that wasn't really needed, but alright. But I guess you're also sort of framing, like, how they're going to be reacting to each other for the rest of the season. So, I mean, it makes sense.
That's fair.
Yeah. So they get to the TARDIS. Or, no.
Do they?
Cal frames Za for murder. Because he fucking offs the old lady.
Yep.
Like, I thought Za offed the old lady? No, he just, like, kind of aggressively pushed her and she, like, broke her hip, maybe? Cal literally, like, murders her with a rock/knife. And blames it on Za, and he goes, no, I saw them do this, and and Za killed the old lady and then ran off with them because he wants to make fire and the old lady didn't want fire, and this is how things are.
Yes.
And they're like, we totally believe that because you say that you see things in your head, and we see those things too. They're dreams. We see those things too, so we totally believe you.
Yes.
And so we then cut back to everyone carrying Za to the TARDIS, and like 2 or 3 cavemen like stand up with spears. They're like, "Hey, we got here first," and we roll the credits again for the third
Third
episode.
And
Yeah.
I will in between each one. I may as well try and give you some sort of tidbit here and there. So, you know the forestry and tropical plants that were throughout this episode, where they
Yes, and the T-Rex elephants.
T-Rex elephants. So fun fact: when they were getting the plants and everything, someone accidentally brought a lizard on set with it because it came with the plants somehow. And the actress who played Susan basically just took the lizard and kept it as a pet after that. Just like, you know what? This is mine now. I'm gonna take this. Oh. This is mine.
That was way more wholesome than I thought it was gonna be. I thought you were gonna be like, there was a whole issue with, like, custom.
No. Not everything is terrible about Doctor Who.
No, I'm just saying, like, I can imagine that being a thing where they find this lizard, but it's actually, like, an endangered species they didn't realize. And so, like, there's this whole issue, and they, like, have to send it back. And there was, like, a legal thing.
So another thing is, so in that moment where the Doctor picks up the stone, he's very much preparing to murder the caveman. But this is kind of... they've tried to explain this a few times. One account from an audiobook made in, like, the 90s was that after losing all his memories during an incident with... a mortal enemy, the 8th Doctor visits the 1st Doctor to regain some of his past memories. His presence was stated as being the reason behind the Doctor's change of heart in why he didn't kill the caveman. Another is that he basically just says, actually it was Ian who convinced me not to kill the caveman. So he really was out going to kill that caveman, which...
Oh no, I don't doubt it, but
yeah.
The dichotomy of, like, having them have to argue with each other in so straightforward a way is a lot to deal with.
Yes. But yeah, anyway, 4th episode, final episode.
Firemaker.
The Firemaker.
Oh. I'd like to point out that this is the point where I said that it still looks like Dr. Oho or Dr. Ohio.
Yeah, the intro does kind of look a little bit like... because it fades in.
Yeah. And the Who part of it is flipped, of course, because they want to be snazzy. But because it's flipped, you only really see the shape of the O, and then the H, and then the O, so it's Oho or Dr. Ohio, and it's just, like, hilarious to me. So we open up to the title of Firemaker, and we are sitting on this image of a caveman, like, gently kind of twitching his eyes, squinting, going, "They're coming!" And Cal gets upset that a woman is speaking for Za, because Za is incapacitated. Why would he be able to speak anyway? But, like, whatever.
Yeah.
And then they accuse him again for murdering the old woman. And Cal picks up the knife and pretty much goes, "This is the knife that they did this with." And the Doctor's like, "Hey, there's no blood on that knife. Like, what are you talking about?" He's like, "I don't know what that means." And the Doctor's like, "Wow, actually, this is such a good knife. Like, look at this knife. Like, there is no better knife." And Za, or Cal, being the idiot he is, goes, "No, my knife is better." Pulls out his knife and it's covered in blood. Because of course it is.
Oh, why would it be covered in blood?
Because he murdered the old lady. I already said that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that he killed her.
Really? Are you sure about that? Because it was pretty obvious when
Um,
he lifts up the rock and then moments later goes, "Hey, Za killed the old lady."
That's fair. I guess. Maybe
So,
I was just not good at comprehension.
it's okay. Most of America isn't. So I'm saying I understand
Burn?
and I'm empathizing. Yes. Um. So there's some very aggressive grunting, and then for some reason, Ian's like, "Drive him out." And the doctor throws a rock and is like, "Follow my lead, drive him out." And everyone understands what drive him out means for some reason,
Uh-huh.
right? So they all chase Cal off, and he runs off into the fucking forest. They put them back in this cave of skulls for really no reason. They could have just had them in the other cave with them, but no, they keep them in the cave of skulls.
Mm-hmm.
And now knowing that those were real skulls, I can't imagine having to film in there multiple times and probably having to do multiple takes. Like, oh my lord.
Yeah.
Um, and Za's like, "Hey, I'm gonna learn fire from the orb still. It's fine. If they come out, kill them. It's fine."
It's fine.
And then we see Cal just like looking through the trees like, "Huh, I'm gonna make a plan and I'm gonna do a thing." Whoa! Sort of thing. The lady teacher is now coughing again at the sight of skulls and getting upset. TM 1960s women, but I kind of understand now. Except the fact that how much upset she was getting. She was like, what's the word? Unconsolable.
Inconsolable, yeah.
Inconsolable. Za asks her what was happening in the forest, and her is like, they came from the mountains, and this one guy is named Friend, and they get down from the rock to move like 1 foot away to keep talking, and I don't know why they needed that camera change.
Well, because
It was so weird.
if people move and the camera changes, then people look at that and go, "Oh, okay, so it's not just a standard shot anymore. Now it's like it's no longer a standard dialogue scene."
But they can like change the shot without them moving 2 feet.
I mean, yeah, it's just exciting.
Yeah, okay, fair. So Ian decides to make a campfire just because whatever. And for the longest time, you and I thought the sticks weren't even touching, that he was like trying to rub together.
Yeah.
And I realized he actually made like a jig. And what that basically means is you have one vertical stick and one horizontal stick. And the horizontal stick has a piece of string from end to end. And that is what spins the stick so fast that it creates enough friction to make fire. That's what he was doing.
Fucking
I didn't
wild.
see the string either.
Well,
but
it's hard to see it considering the quality is not the best.
It's also in black and white, and it's not well lit, to be fair, in the Cave of Skulls.
We're going to be in black and white until the 70s, by the way.
I know we are.
So yeah, keep going.
Za comes in, he's like, "What are you doing?" And they're like, "Well, we're making fire." And this is kind of about the time that I realized Za's wife was named Her. It took me that long.
Yeah.
And the elders think that the group and the companions and stuff are from Orb.
Orb.
So they're from Sun.
Orb.
They're from GDQ.
Orb.
And they're like, they're never going to show us how to make fire. Like, we should just kill them and sacrifice them, and then we'll get fire.
Uh-huh.
And then we cut back to them in the cave, and they make fire, and Zell was like, "Yo! Like, that's so cool. Teach me how to do that." And they're like, "Yeah, this is how we did it." And for some reason, the group thinks that Za is being a traitor again for some reason. Honestly, they're just all crazy. And Ringo Starr is back, of course.
Of course.
He strangles the guard that is basically outside of the Cave of Skulls to make sure no one leaves. And Cal, like, sees him coming, and he's like, what? And their fight is, quote-unquote, great. They're smashing a bunch of skulls in the cave. I saw a butt crack at one point, and then in the next shot, they had shorts on. They obviously hired stunt doubles to roll around in some dirt. Like, it was a lot. And then they start wrestling, and there's, like, flashing lights and a bunch of close-ups of the companions, like, making various faces for no real reason other than drama.
They're reacting, dear.
Uh-huh. On YouTube Reacts?
Yes, they're a YouTube React channel now.
Don't tell the Zucker brothers.
The Zucker brothers? The Zucker brothers?
Yeah.
Wrong brothers!
Yeah, I realized that very quickly.
You mean the Fine brothers?
Yes.
I don't think they're making a parody.
Fun.
Anyway, who wins the fight in the Battle of the Mines, Za or Cal?
Za crushes Cal's skull with a rock. And then there's a bunch of groaning, and then all the people from the cave come in, and they're like, it's morning, orb is high, what are you doing? And Ian literally, like, wants to walk out with Za to be like, hey, like, we made fire, like, here you go. And the doctor's like, what are you doing? And then, like, Ian and the doctor are, like, arguing again for whatever reason. Like, he literally, 2 scenes before, was talking about how the most important person in their tribe doesn't make fire. Like, the fire maker is not the most important person. And how Ian literally went, the doctor's our leader. Like, he is our leader. Like, pay attention. And then seconds later, he's, like, questioning his authority again for some reason. And I don't... It's just a complete 180, and it's just like, okay, sure, whatever. And so they pretty much... I assumed at this point that everyone was going to burn to death or suffocate or something, because foreshadowing. That never happens.
No.
Za wants them to stay in the cave and join tribes. Because he honestly doesn't know any better. And he's a caveman, you know, he's stupid. He's not going to know any better. They just want to leave. They're like, no, we brought you water. We brought you meat. I killed a deer. Look at me, I'm literally wearing it. Like, it's very obvious I'm going to take care of you. And I'm going to, like, totally, like, fuck all your women. And we're going to join tribes. Like, that's what's going to happen.
Yep.
And so they're like, okay, well, what are we going to do to get out of here? So they take some torches and then put the skulls on top of the torches so that fire is coming out the eyeball holes. And this makes me worry that they did this with real human skulls.
Hey, it's fine.
And I'm... okay. And then they stick the sticks, the torches into the ground, pretend to be dead. All the cave people come in, and they're like, oh my god, what is that? That's so scary. I don't understand what that is. And they all just leave, like, while everyone's being distracted.
Yep.
They get annoyed, because they're like, it's just fire. Like, why were we so scared? Like, I don't understand, sort of thing. And it's just like, you really wouldn't have clicked that fast for a bunch of cavemen, but, you know, I'll leave it to these British cavemen.
It's the end of the story. It's the end of the story.
Yeah, it's fine.
They're gonna wrap it up.
So they start running after the companions and the doctor, because they're like, it's night outside, but we have fire, so fire makes it day. And they all start running, and the lady teacher falls for, like, the 5th time, and is screaming, like, I don't understand why she needs to fall and scream so much. And you made point that she might have been in heels, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I can't remember.
1960s sexism, TM. They do this really great shot. I say great very loosely, of them literally on treadmills running with like sticks and stuff that people are very obviously like throwing at them from off camera.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh my god, like I understand having trouble making a running scene when you don't have a whole lot of like area or like a dolly to like move your camera. But oh my god, the throwing of sticks was a lot. So they make it onto the TARDIS. Everyone runs inside and they smack some buttons and the noises go whoosh whoosh and away they go. And the cavemen throw a spear and it goes through the TARDIS as it goes away. And they're like, I don't understand. I have a smooth peanut brain, sort of thing. And they get all freaked out that the TARDIS is like gone. And the Doctor gets upset because they couldn't figure out where they were in enough time to coordinate a way to get back to their time period so that they could drop off maybe the two teachers to get rid of them.
Well, I mean, he literally flat out says that he doesn't know how to control the machine.
Yes. He says he doesn't know how to control it in the regard of he can't exactly give it an exact time or something. It has to do like with when they got there and when they take off and just all this stuff.
Yes.
And then they land and they take a video image of the world outside, and I called it the land of trees with rubber tubing glued to them, because that's literally what it looked like.
That's nice.
There were many other things I could have called it, and that was probably the safest. They asked Susan what the radiation level is. She's like, oh, it's normal. We should go get cleaned up, and then we'll go outside, and we'll figure out where we are and go home. So they all leave, and then we punch in on the radiation level, and you see the needle slowly going up towards the danger area. And then there's a light flashing, and then they're obviously not going to see that flashing, very bright light when they walk on to see next episode, and credits roll, the Doctor Who theme plays, and honestly, throughout this whole episode, special thanks to Horg and Cal.
Special thanks to Horg and Cal. So real quick, little something important I've just discovered. One of the actresses that was hired to play a cave woman during all of this, she completely misunderstood her part. She thought she was going to be modeling furs for Dr. No, which was released the year prior, rather than wearing rags. When she learned she was having to get her teeth blackened up, she stormed off the set and never returned.
Oh, I was gonna say, there were like 3 or 4 women that I saw that were just like really not into being a caveman in the background.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, they were just like,
Right.
like just like barely like talking or anything.
So what do you think of the first episode in that regard?
Compared to what I know, or of its own merit?
Of its own merit, just forgetting what you know, because what you know is completely different to any of this.
Yeah. I think it felt very heavy-fisted.
Oh, this
in
is
some regards. In some regards, like how Ian and the Doctor had to fight to, like, very obviously have to fight.
We're gonna have so much fun with this.
Yeah, very, like, they had to make their fight very out in the open to be obvious, is what I'm saying.
That's true.
Just, like, little things like that kind of bothered me. But, I mean, honestly, on its own, it wasn't that bad. I could see this being a crappy movie on the Sci-Fi Channel. For an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Ouch, but okay. So how are you...
I'm saying, like the plot. I could see that plot line.
That's fair enough. How would you feel if I told you that they did actually adapt Doctor Who into a movie that was like a 60s B movie called... that I haven't seen in a long time. It actually stars Peter Cushing as the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very 60s B movie.
I don't know how I would feel about that, and I would say maybe let's think about that later when
Okay, in that
if we
case,
keep doing this.
how do you feel then about the fact that the next episode is broken up into 7 parts?
Why? This one was broken up into 4. Why are they broken? Okay, why are they broken up into parts though?
I I have no idea.
Were they like episodes?
They are okay. So here's the thing. So they were individual episodes of like, that's why they all have different names because they're all different episodes. But then they sort of realized over time that it's like we're really just writing a story arc over a certain amount of episodes, and they abandon it and they're like, okay, the episode's called this. This is episode 1. Here's episode 2. Here's episode 3. They stop calling them like individual episodes. But for the first and second and a little bit of the third Doctor, and even actually the fourth Doctor, episodes quantity varies wildly from like 2 episodes to 4 episodes to 7 episodes to the longest one being 12 episodes. But we're not going to watch that one because it's completely missing, unfortunately, which is really unfortunate because it's a really good episode.
I mean, we could always find it on totally legal means.
No, when I say it's missing, okay, so I'm gonna have to explain this.
Okay.
So the BBC archived their episodes, and 2 things have caused episodes to be lost over time. One being...
Was one a fire?
One was a fire that made them lose some.
That's usually how episodes are lost.
And the other was they just simply got rid of them. Some TV shows they just didn't think were worth keeping, so they just got rid of them to clear space. Over the years, people have found these episodes that have been lost through other countries when they've been sent like reels of the episode. They've been able to get them and turn them, and it's always a great cheers and success and parties whenever it happens because everyone's excited. But a lot of these episodes, they've resigned to just, okay, a few episodes have survived within the arc, like maybe out of 7, 2 have survived, so they've started animating the rest of them, and it's not like lively animation, but it's like enough animation to really give you something visual to look at, whereas the alternative for many years, which I've dealt with for quite a number of episodes in the quote-unquote fan community, is take promotional images and snaps of televisions from the time and basically try and extrapolate as much as you can. You're not going to see any movement, but you're going to see still images, and you can try and work out what's going on through there. For a lot of episodes, you can kind of do that. A lot of episodes, it's not worth doing that. Yeah. But it's... let me just say, there's a lot of episodes that I'm glad they've animated instead. But Doctor Who initially was... the next episode is the most important episode in Doctor Who history, because initially the series was meant to be about an old man traveling through time, and it'll be about teaching kids history. They'll like science fiction, but they don't want sci-fi monsters. They don't want monsters. They want history. Like teach about the Inquisition and all that, and the French Revolution and all that. The second episode is about a sci-fi monster. And initially the BBC, the showrunner, not the showrunner, the controller at the BBC did not want to run the story, but they ended up just saying, fine, whatever, run your fucking sci-fi monster story, but after this we want our historical stories that we've asked for. What happened was that the sci-fi monster story was so popular, it started a craze that rivaled Beatlemania. And they went, oh, okay, we have something on our hands here. So that's why the next episode is as 7 parts sounds daunting. It's actually a fairly interesting story in my opinion. Like things actually happen. where as opposed
Unlike
to
caveman politics?
unlike caveman politics, but and some later multi-part stories where nothing really happens. But it's interesting to look at. Things happen. They're cool. Monsters, and it, it's where things really start to kick off, and this becomes an actual thing. But you're gonna hear a lot of screaming, so get used to that.
Yeah. I mean, I figured. Also, the only reason that I was gonna just go straight out on a limb and be like, was there a fire, is just because, like, old film, for the little wee babies that don't know, old film, like old 8mm film, was so flammable. Like, the chemicals used to process it and just the film itself was so flammable.
Yeah. So here's more accurate sort of numbers. So many portions of the show are no longer held by the BBC. Between 1967 and 1978, the BBC routinely deleted archive programs for various practical reasons: lack of space, scarcity of materials, lack of rebroadcasting rights. As a result, 97 of 253 episodes of the program's first 6 years are currently missing, primarily from season 3 to 5, leaving 26 serials incomplete. It's not unique in its loss, but it's survived through home. It's honestly survived through people recording it at home and taking telesnaps on audio clips and recording the audio at home. It's actually quite interesting, like the lengths people have gone to try and recreate these. And there's been bounties, like people have put bounties on finding like reels, studio reels of these episodes that the international studios might have. Like I think the last one was found in Uganda, and they remastered it and everything, and it was great. It was a perfect intact, and all 6 episodes have been completely lost, but they had found it and been able to get all 6 completely fine as if it wasn't lost at all. So it's like, maybe one day they'll come back, but probably fucking not. So yeah,
maybe they'll find another one in Uganda. Who knows?
Who knows? I mean, they find some all over the fucking place. So the first one that we're going to come up to that we're going to skip because the episodes are missing is actually the 4th episode, and it's about Marco Polo. So unfortunately, we're going to miss a lot of racism. And I know because I've actually watched that episode. But it's alright. It's alright. The next episode that's missing episodes is The Reign of Terror, which is about the French Revolution. And that episode is interesting enough that they have animated the missing episodes. So we'll get to watch that one.
Ooh. Classism! Hell yeah!
Classism, kind of. So, okay. How do we want to end this?
Well, you said you wanted me to rate these, but I don't even know what I would rate them on a scale. Maybe
you don't really
like
have a frame of reference.
Well, what if I just said, like, 1 being I would never want to watch this again, and I'm angry that you made me watch it, and 10 being like, I want to watch this again, like, right now.
Well, I feel like for you, I don't think there's any episodes that you would want to, like, watch again right now, because, be honest, is there actually? Like, think, even in, like, the new ones.
I mean...
Okay,
Rose
let's make it...
And David Tennant stuff?
Okay, I mean, we'll get to that, like, years down the line.
Also...
I guess maybe, yeah, one being you never want to see it again, and you hate me for making you watch it, and 10 being, yeah, you would probably watch it again in your own time. I wouldn't say, like, you loved it, because I highly doubt that there's any episode that you love. I was gonna say,
because, like...
But, like, you'd be happy to watch it again. Most of the episodes
with, like... Yeah, like, most of the episodes with, like, Donna later on are, like, up there on, like, 10s for me.
You know what? I forgot how... I should really recommend some of the audio adventures to you, because Donna's a part of them, and they're really good. Anyway, so what would you give this
spoilers, one? Donna's my favorite companion. Maybe, like, a 4, I think, just because... 4 or 5, just because, like... caveman politics are so hard to watch.
Oh, really? I
Like,
thought it was the most interesting part of it.
oh my god. Like when they actually were like running from things and they like went out into the forest and they were like being chased by an animal. I'm like, cool. There's gonna be like dinosaurs and stuff maybe, and there weren't. And I was just like, all right, this is all just caveman politics. Got it.
Fair enough.
It's like
So
maybe like a 4 or 5.
4 or 5. Four
It's
or
not the
five for the
worst
first
thing I've
episode.
ever seen, but like maybe I don't really want to watch it.
So more of a 4 then.
Yeah.
Alright. So in that case, so that's a 4 for the first episode in Unearthly Child. The next episode is the Daleks. So
Oh.
that one I think you'll have a little bit of a higher opinion on because it's got it's a much more interesting. There's no caveman politics. There's space aliens and caves and well, there's caves in this one as well.
Oh, caves. More
Monsters
caves. I can't wait.
and all sorts of lovely things. So I guess we'll get to that next time. In that case, how do we want to end this then?
I honestly have no idea.
I don't fucking know either. I'm not trying to be professional here. I'm just trying to get this, trying to do it because I've been wanting to do it.
I'm here because you wanted me to be here at this point, and you're my friend, and so I said okay.
You're allowing me to torture you.
Yeah.
I guess like, yeah. I guess the only thing I can say is like, I'm sorry, dear. And I guess anyone can. Where can anyone find you if anyone's listening to this to say sorry to you?
At any social media and or patreon.com and twitch.tv using the name Miss Deerface because I use the same name everywhere.
Wow, look at that
and
synergy.
Also please use my code for Raid Shadow Legends of Jesus Christ, please pay me.
Shut up. We're sponsored by sushi. Come on.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, so please, if you're listening, follow Dear if you're not already, because I'm torturing her with this and she's being very nice and letting me do it. Hey, maybe I'll get... See, my goal with all of this is A, to force you to watch it, B, hopefully introduce other people to it, and C, hopefully change your opinion on this, because I remember when I first told you about, like, Doctor Who, like, classic Doctor Who, you're like, yeah, I don't fucking care about that. But I want to change your opinion to be like, you know what? Some of it is interesting, and some of it I would put on in the background while I work.
We have to clarify, a lot of it is just that I have trouble watching older TV in general. My parents always tried to get me to watch things like I Love Lucy and the Andy Griffith Show and things like that.
Yeah, but those are fucking boring. And it was just
so hard. You're not wrong, but that's not the point. It just was so hard for me to watch because it was just so extremely dated, and I don't know, it's just very hard for me to get hooked, and I'm already not a sci-fi person. I'm a science fantasy person.
Exactly. Whereas, like, most of the charm for classic Doctor Who, in my opinion, is that it is incredibly dated, and it is incredibly cheesy. Especially the more we go along, because it's like, there's the early 60s cheese, and then we get to the 70s cheese, and then we get to the 80s cheese, where it's like, they have absolutely no budget at all, and the BBC is like looking at them going, hey, why isn't this show doing well? Give us good shows. Look at America, they've got Star Trek The Next Generation.
I need you to clarify something for me.
Yes.
A few days ago, you posted something on Twitter, which was an image of a man pointing a small laser pointer that made noise at a phone, and then the doctor on the other end of the phone was getting wrapped up in string that was shooting out of the phone.
I will clarify this for you. That episode is The Mind of Evil from 1970... not The Mind of Evil, sorry. Terror of the Autons from 1971. It is the series intro. It introduced the Master, who is one of the Doctor's enemies. That was the phone cord. That wasn't string coming out of the phone, that was the phone cord. It had been set up
Oh.
earlier in that episode that someone had come in and installed an extra long phone cord, and he was that he was being strangled by the phone cord.
Okay,
It
so
is
that was in the 70s with no budget. Got it.
no, the 70s is when they had budget. They had a bit of budget.
Oh.
The
I'm not looking forward to not budget then.
That's like early 70s where they didn't really have much of a budget. Later 70s is where they get a budget, and that's when it gets really good. That's when a lot of people's most favorite era of classic Doctor Who is, because you've got Douglas Adams was a script editor and he wrote scripts, and it's all great shit going on there. There's specifically one amazing episode that's actually still great. There's an episode about an episode called "The Talons of Wang Chiang," which is a fan favorite, but has a lot of problems with yellow face.
Oh.
We'll get to that.
Good.
Don't worry. And Tom Baker himself, and all sorts of amazing reincorporation of props and stuff, and then it gets to the 80s, and their budget has been absolutely slashed, and it is great. It's so when they've released the DVDs for some of the episodes, they've hey, we've updated it with CGI, and you can we've changed it so it's no longer puppets, it's CGI, and it's no, the CGI looks bad. It's not great CGI, but it looks better with the puppet because the puppet's so fucking bad.
Oh, good.
There's some great shit. Anyway, I guess we'll convene next time, be it a week, a month, a fortnight, whenever, and do this again.
Yeah.